serviced accommodation was kind of the thing that I started getting into. The first month I put my my 3-story townhouse on the market, it sold out at like £3,500 for a month. I'm not sure what that is in dollars. It's probably about $5,000 or $6,000 maybe. I just thought,
it's a nice chunk of change for sure.
This is nice. You know, I was used to getting like £1,300 and banking maybe, £300-400. And I was taking like £1,500 to £1,700 net profit on this. And I was like, wow, this is good. And then there was all sorts of other things in the UK that you can offset in taxation. So not only was I gaining more revenue by selling my place by the night, I was also putting more money in my bank as net profit, but I wasn't paying as many taxes as well because of the way that we can set up in the UK. Now, once I got into that, the next month I went out and bought another property.
What's up, everybody? My name's Mike Sjogren, here with my co-host
Emmanuel Pani.
We're part of a group of specialized real estate investors you've probably never heard of.
We didn't start with deep pockets or wealthy families, and we don't rely on 401ks, mutual funds, or traditional real estate investing.
In fact, many of us don't even own the properties that fund our freedom. If you ask the money experts out there, they'd say what we do is impossible, yet it's happening every single day.
It's happening through a new niche called short-term rentals.
We are Short-Term Rental Nation, and these are our secrets. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Short-Term Rental Secrets podcast. I'm your host, Mike Sjogren, here with my main man and brother from another mother, Mr. Emmanuel Pani. What's up, E?
My brother, life is good as always. I am in my never-ending fight to get the villas refinanced. I feel like David and Goliath, but at last I'm going to find a way. It was a reminder for me this week. So I got a rejection on Tuesday from another bank, and it was just such a reminder to, one, pay attention to how you talk to yourself, and two, really having that strong support system. And I'm extremely blessed that both my wife, my brother, my sister, my mom, my dad, everybody that I talked to was super supportive. And it makes all the difference, right? Because then it's kind of sad for a little bit, not gonna lie, right? You feel disappointed when you're working on something that you know is good and it's working and it's making money, and other people are not recognizing it. Can be frustrating. But went to the gym, abused myself physically, which is something that gives me joy and kind of helps me level out. And then went back to the drawing board, and it's, as we say, right? You can't fail if you don't quit. So very much in that bandwagon, and reminded of the daily up and downs that we face as entrepreneurs and choosing this life, right?
That's it, man.
It's our blessing, at the same time. So how are you guys?
You get like the Rico Suave thing going on. I feel like I'm like watching like an Old Spice commercial or something.
Right? It's the hair, man. The hair it's a beast on its own. I don't know what to do. I don't know if I control the hair. The hair controls me now, but it's working, I
love it. I love it. Well, I'm excited to get in. This is episode 53. So this is officially kicking off year 2 of the podcast, which is amazing. If you guys haven't checked it out yet, listen to last week's episode where we did a breakdown of our top 10 tips that we got over the last 52 weeks through this podcast. So today we have a very special guest with us who we also met through Clubhouse. And again, if you're not on Clubhouse, you're missing out. It's where all the cool kids are hanging out. And they recently opened it up to Android users. So you have no excuse now. Get on there. But today we have Dave Goodfellow with us. And Dave's been in the property business for 10 years. 3 years STR mixed strategies. He's rent to rent, or the rental arbitrage model as we call it here. He's done management. He also has 3 AppartHotels in the pipeline, which is exciting. I want to talk about that today. He currently has 40 units, and we're excited to have him on all the way from the UK, Mr. Dave Goodfellow. How you doing, sir?
Hey, I'm good. I'm happy and to be here. And Thanks for letting me kick off the second year. That put me under a bit of pressure, right?
I think you'll deliver.
What have you done to me here?
I love it. I love it. And you get that sweet background going. Make sure you guys watch on YouTube too, because it's fun to actually like watch a dialogue. But we were joking offline that he's got like the whole, I don't know, holy crown going on behind him.
He looks like a saint from the like those paintings from the Renaissance. You know, it's one of those.
Down a little bit and put my head back a little bit like this.
I love it. I love it. Well, Dave, why don't you kind of bring us back? Like, how'd you get into the real estate and then the short-term rental game? Like, what were you doing? What triggered you to get into this?
Yeah, great question. So, 10 years ago, I was getting into doing what we call flips now, but I didn't know they were called that back then. I was an operations manager for a home improvements company, and I thought I could buy properties, add a bit of value to them, and sell them on and make a few quid. A few quid, that's a real British thing, isn't it? So make a few dollars or pounds, whatever you want to call it, right? And I did that, and kind of didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't realize I was getting into real estate property. I just thought it was kind of just a good thing for me to do with my skill base and transfer them into buying property, adding value and selling them on. And I did that for a few years and flipped like 4 or 5 properties, and then got into buying property and holding it. And had a very small buy-to-let portfolio. I don't know what you call it over there. If buy-to-let is like a rental business, so you buy it, you hold it, you put somebody in who will stay there for six months to however long they want, charge it on a monthly rate. But the problem with that strategy was that over in the UK, there's so many anti-landlord taxes, and it's difficult to get a tenant out of the property if you want to move them out. They brought in a thing called Section 21. So if they stopped paying you rent, you couldn't just get them out of the house. They were legally obliged to still stay there. And I was getting a boiler would break down and it'd wipe out my profit for the year. And I just thought to myself, you know what? It's too much hassle having buy-to-lets. So in November 2018, I had a tenant that was in one of my 3-story townhouses in Chester in the UK. Beautiful little house, great little Roman city. And I thought to myself, right, I'm going to try and do the serviced accommodation model. And in the background, the year before, I'd kind of been like thinking about getting out of my job, if you like, and moving from working for somebody, from working for myself and making my own money. My missus fell pregnant, and I was working away kind of going away on a Sunday afternoon and not coming back till a Friday evening. And I was like, this isn't a life when I've got a child. I want to be around more. So serviced accommodation was kind of the thing that I started getting into. The first month I put my 3-story townhouse on the market, it sold out at like £3,500 for a month. And I'm not sure what that is in dollars. It's probably about $5,000 or $6,000 maybe. And I just thought,
it's a nice chunk of change for sure. This is
nice. I was used to getting like £1,300 and banking maybe, £300-400. And I was taking like £1,500 to £1,700 net profit on this. And I was like, wow, this is good. And then there was all sorts of other things in the UK that you can offset in taxation. So not only was I gaining more revenue by selling my place by the night, I was also putting more money in my bank as net profit, but I wasn't paying as many taxes as well because of the way that we can set up in the UK. Now, once I got into that, the next month I went out and bought another property, and I transferred that from a 3-bedroom kind of masonette in a social housing block into a 4-bedroom serviced accommodation unit, or an STR. But that took a little bit of time to kind of buy it, rip everything out of it, start again and go. And I thought, well, what am I going to do in the meantime to kind of make a little bit more money coming through? And how can I do that quicker? So what I did is I went out and looked for what we call rent to rent, but I think you call it arbitrage. Is it arbitrage over there?
Yes.
So we went out, and I in the January, February, I went out and spoke to a load of letting agents, and I picked up four rent to rents or rental arbitrages in one weekend. And then I was like, oh, I'm not going to swear. What am I going to do with this? what am I going to do with them all? How am I going to get them all set up? I'm working. I'm not, I'm not full time in this, and I just had to work with my business partner, and we kind of muddled through it and got them set up a lot, not as quick as what we wanted to, because we were doing it at night and at the weekends and stuff. And then it just went from there, really. I took on a load more. We took on 12 rent-to-rents in our first 10 months. And then we've just grown from there, really. Through the pandemic, we have a prime minister over here called Boris Johnson, and he came on to tell us that, in in March last year, that we had to stop all travel for business and leisure guests. And we were like, well, who are we going to put in our properties then? Because that's all of our customers or all of our guests, right? So we just kind of went out and thought, right, well, who's going to be busy right now? What businesses are thriving through the pandemic? So for us, it was the NHS, which is our National Health Service. So we went to them and we filled most of our properties with doctors, nurses, because they were just overspilling, right? And then we looked for key workers that were working in refineries and power stations, and we managed to fill all of our properties with those types of people. So that kind of got us through a lump. And then we started our training company, and we started training people on how to, get rental properties on. And what they did is they'd go out and get them, and then they'd give them to us to manage the properties for them. So we then grew our serviced accommodation management business off the back of that too. And that's taken us up to kind of present day. And in the last 3 or 4 months, 6 months, sorry, we've purchased our first Aparthotel on the North Wales coastline, which is a beautiful coastline. We call it the Welsh Riviera. And we're changing that into an 11 apartment hotel. And then we've just picked up another 2. So we've offered and had them accepted, and we're in the process of exchange and completing on them. One is a 28 apartment hotel, and the other is a 40 apartment hotel. So yeah, we're really looking forward to getting stuck into those and just managing multiple units under one roof rather than doing lots of single dwellings, So yeah, that's where we're up to, and that brings us up to present day. And I'm sorry if I went on a little bit there.
No, that was perfect, man. That was amazing.
That kind of scaled. You know how people say like a 10-year success kind of happens overnight, but that was really kind of how that happened. How did you? So if I understood correctly, right, you have people that are now doing rent-to-rent or rental arbitrage and are now coming back to you afterwards and having you do the management.
Yeah. So we've got a mix. Yeah, we've got a mix of people. So when we do our mentorships, some people want to run the business themselves, but some people just want the cash flow and want kind of a more of a passive income. And we all know STR isn't passive, right? But they want as much of a passive income as they possibly can get. So we teach them how to go out and secure the product, and then we'll take that off them, and we will just, send them the check every month and give them a kind of turnkey service on that. And we're kind of going UK wide on that at the moment. We started in Chester, and we've started sort of going out to other places in the UK, and we're just looking forward to building that business over the next few years.
I love that. Can you walk us through that model? Because that's a very interesting model.
Yeah, I'm fascinated.
Is your company the one signing on those leases, or
no?
So how your partners are paying the rent every month, and you're just managing it and giving them a distribution for whatever it comes in?
Exactly that.
Yeah.
So what we do is we take them on on a mentorship. We'll train them. We'll show them what we call the serviced accommodation roadmap, where they start with nothing, and we help them sort of set up a business and help them go out and teach them how to, firstly make sure that the area is correct. We call it find your SA area. If we were to come over to America, it'd be find your STR area. That's a bit of a mouthful, but there you go. And once they've done those and they can understand how to analyze a deal properly and do their due diligence and, understand what areas work well, because we all know that not all locations work. Some do, some don't, depending on, the population density and, how much leisure and business there are in those areas. And once we've done that with them, we then teach them what we call a 7-stage sales cycle. So there's a and this is like an old sales thing I used to do years ago when I was selling windows. And it's a 7-stage cycle where you go through a process where it's very difficult for the landlord or the letting agent at the end to say no to you, because you really truly believe that we are the best option for them. And I do truly believe that for buy-to-let commercial landlords, we are the best option for them because we look after their properties, right? We have to. If we don't, the next person that comes in gives us a bad review, we lose revenue, right? So we teach them how to go through that process with the landlords and letting agents. And then once they've done that and they've got them on board, we then go through a process of how you set your properties up, how you furnish them. We give them all our contacts, with their furnishing companies and linen and cleaning and maintenance teams. And then what we do is we give them a contract where we take 15% of gross revenue plus VAT. That's value added tax in our country. I'm not sure what you have over in America, similar sort of thing. And then, we just manage that for them. They hand it to us. We send them a check every month. They make money, and so do we. So it's a great model.
I love it. That's so smart, because for our listener, TJ does something similar, right? Is the perfect tenant
program.
Yeah.
Well, look, the thing for me, right? I'm a person that works, and I'm the person who used to go out and get the business in. So for me to go out and do that, I can normally get 2 or 3 a month by going out and seeing landlords and letting agents with everything else that I do. But if I can teach people and I can have six people in my area doing the same thing, that's 6 times 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I teach people to go and do it. They go and do it. They pass them back to us. We help them. They make good money out of it, by the way, too. Everybody's happy. It's a win-win.
I love it.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, and it's such a great example of what we talked about, is just that abundance mindset of if you go out and teach other people and you're confident in the value that you provide, you actually grow your business, right? It's shrinking it. So that is part of your business. And then what does the rest look like? So with this hotel apartments that you guys are getting into buying, so those you're actually purchasing, I assume you have partners and you guys are just going to run through them, or how does that work?
Yeah, I can talk you through how I do that if you like. I can talk you through the three that I've got. I've done slightly different. So the first one, I purchased the property itself, and then we've got what's called development finance to develop it. So bought it for $250,000, so 250,000. Development finance on it's around 550,000, and the end value will be about 1.4 million. I'm not quite sure what that is in dollars. Probably
a lot.
Like $2 million, something like that. Maybe.
So
on that one, I purchased the actual property myself. So I used my own cash, put that into it, and bought it, and then used the leveraging that money that I put in and the building to get development finance on it, and had an end valuation done from what we call RICS over here, RICS valuation, and then that helps us go out and get the lending. The second property, we did that slightly differently. So the building itself was 850,000. Again, I'm not sure what that is in dollars. So there's 850,000 to purchase the building. We've gone for private investment on that. But what we do on the first day when we get the development finance is we get development finance which covers half of the building. So we get half of the money back for the building. We don't actually exchange money until the day, and you do it all on the same day. So you're only putting out, half of the 850,000 plus some costs and stuff like that. And once you've done that, you get your development finance, develop it. So that one, the development finance is 1.2 million. And then the revaluation is 3.2. So we did that with that. That was private investment. The third property that we're still in the process of kind of securing this deal and making sure that we're crossing the T's and dotting the I's. Mm-hmm. So on that one, we've done what we call vendor finance. So the building is unencumbered. Do you know what unencumbered means? So the building doesn't
own it free and clear.
That's it, exactly. So the person who owns the building owns it free and clear. So we've gone in and showed them the model that we're using for the other Aparthotels. And then we've done a deal with them to use the building as collateral for the development finance. So we secure it against the building with our RICS valuation and what we've done on our previous rolls. And they come in on the deal. They take 50%, we take 50%. You know, at the end, we revalue it. They take all the money out and take 50% of the revenue, or 50% of the net profit. Now those last two, I've not put a penny into. So I say not a penny.
Yeah.
We've had to put a few quid in at the beginning to kind of get the ball rolling with architects and stuff like that. But yeah, that's how we work it.
Yeah. And I think this is the perfect example, once again, to all of the people that have been on our show that have grown exponentially, is the ability of creating the structures that work and not getting super, because I think a lot of the times people, especially at the beginning, you only know certain ways to do certain things.
Yeah.
The beauty of time and experience is that you learn other ways that you can do things.
Do you know where I learned how to do all this stuff?
Probably in your construction
Clubhouse.
Oh, yeah. Clubhouse.
Yeah. Oh, Clubhouse.
Remember, I've been doing this. This is the last 3 months, right? So
Yeah.
the connections that I've made through Clubhouse, and the friends that I've made and the business partner relationships that I've made, have shown me how to do this. It's all coming. The 3 Aparthotels have come in the last 3 months. I tell a lie. The first one I bought about 4 or 5 months ago, so just before Clubhouse, but I changed the strategy on it because I was going to put a lot more money into that deal, but changed the strategy and I didn't. I haven't had to put as much as what I thought I was going to have to in there.
Yeah. And then you pretty much just, for our American listeners, you're just getting a renovation loan. So that's what we would call that here. So you're buying assets and you have a renovation loan.
Exactly that. Development finance, we call it over here. But yeah, you call it renovation loan?
Yeah. It would be a renovation loan. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Which is brilliant.
I love that. So what triggered you to get into the Aparthotels? By the way, we can talk offline. I'm trying to come up with a different name because we're launching a 22 unit and I hate the word AppartHotel. I'm like, there's got to be a sexier term that we can come up with because it just sounds so clunky.
AppartHotel, yeah, it's kind of a mouthful, right? Yeah, I get it. I don't know. I haven't got the answer to how you what you call it. But
we'll have a WhatsApp after and try and brainstorm something.
Cool. Yeah, we'll work something out. I'm quite creative that way, so yeah, I'll help with that. So why did I try to get into the Aparthotels rather than the normal single dwellings? Very, very simple. So if you think about doing 22, your new one, your 22 apartments, and you've got 22 apartments across the country, different areas, you've got to have 22 different cleaners, 22 different whatever it is. Your maintenance teams are all over the place. They're all over the cities, they're all over the country. Now bring that under one roof. What happens? You get economies of scale, right? So one of the things that we're doing in our Aparthotels, we're putting laundries in the bottom. So we can do the laundry, we can do our own linen. We have a cleaner and a maintenance team that are literally working on that because they're big enough to be able to do that. And we are going to be very hands-off with them too. But one of the main reasons for doing the Aparthotels too was that we, over in the UK, we have the guest houses and the hotels have just struggled so much over the last year or so. Now, the reason why they struggle is their operational costs are so expensive. So, their food, their wet trade with the bars, they normally have a live-in family that have a huge space, which is an apartment. So what we do is we go in and we take out all that operational cost. We change it all into a very hands-off Aparthotel. It's virtual check-ins, virtual in and out. It's a lot more simple, and we can get more usable space that we can make money from the apartments, right, by renting them by the night. So that's the reason why I did it. Two things. One is the multiple dwellings under one roof rather than having them all over the place. Economies of scale and being able to add value in a different way to what a hotel would do.
100%. And one other thing too, once you get into like the commercial real estate, at least in the US, those properties, and I'd imagine it's the same in the UK, those properties are valued based on how much cash flow or profit they bring in. So you have a lot more control over the valuation. So when you do that and you implement those systems, you raise the revenue, you decrease the expenses. When you go to refinance it, it's a good payday.
You got it. You got it, right? So the numbers that I've just gone through with you there on those different apartments, they are very much a tamed version of what we're going to get once we've operated them for a couple of years. And the way that we can finance, so we call it over here commercial finance. So it's worked on turnover rather than you know a buy-to-let mortgage or something like that, which are just a lot lower. So the more you make, the more value you can get out. It's exactly the same.
From an operational standpoint, I do want to get into this a little bit, especially based on your background, where you've got that strong operations background. I'll get into that in a second, but just from so you've got these 3 new properties. Are you branding each one separately, and each one will have its own direct booking site, or are you going to do it under your umbrella?
It's a great question. So we're going through that at the moment. Now,
I'm asking these questions selfishly.
Yeah, no, I get this. I get it. So we're going through this at the moment. Do we do this under our existing brand, which is Copper House, or do we just create a separate brand? All the apartment hotels are going to be called something different. So the one that we've got in North Wales is going to be called the Woodlands Hotel, or Woodlands AppartHotel, whatever you want to call it. So they will be called something different, but we may run them under our existing company and just tie them into that, because all the operations there, it's all set up already. It's just it's pumping it into our existing infrastructure and just away you go. But then another side of me is like, well, do we create a different brand for this? And I don't know is the answer. If you've got the answer for me, I'd be happy to have an open conversation about it, because it's a quandary that I've got at the moment that I'm not too sure about. I'm not quite sure what the benefit would be to splitting it down, or if there's a benefit in pulling it into the existing business. I don't know. I'd love to have the answer for that, but I haven't.
Yeah, no, and I love these conversations, because I think this trend is going to continue, and that's why it's fun for us, because we run the gamut for the guests that we have. Some of them are fairly newer and they're running single family homes, all the way up to yourself that are now doing these apart hotels. And it's good for whatever stage somebody's in to get a sense of like, okay, getting clear on where do I want to take this, and am I interested in doing this, and what kind of value can I get from an episode like this, thinking a little bit further down the line. And, for us right now, I've run it through the same infrastructure, same team, same everything, but we have branded them differently. So each one has its own website, which is a bit of a pain in the butt, but our good buddy Mark Simpson's building out the new one for me right now for the next one. So he's taking care of that. But yeah, at some point I'm debating if I put it under one umbrella, or at least link it out so that somebody looks for occupied, then they go find it.
You let me know how you get on, because mine's not going to be ready till sort of March next year. By the time we've done the refurb, so the first one's not going to be ready till March next year. So let me know how you get on, and I'm quite happy. I'm very open to not reinventing the wheel. So if it works for somebody else, there's no point in reinventing the wheel, right?
Exactly.
Just go with other people's recommendations. I'm very much somebody who does that.
What's your plan for the rest, real quick, E? I'm curious. So while these are kind of going through development, what's your plan for the rest of this year? Are you still focused on doing a lot of the rent to rent?
Yeah. So our plan for this year is to grow to 68 properties with the, it's very, very, very exact that, but there's a reason for being exact. We've got a certain amount that we want and a number that we want to reach in that business. So we want our turnover to be 1.5 million, and when we work it back, that's 68 properties. So we're on course for that now. We've got 40 now, and we've got a number in the pipeline that are coming through should take us. If I stopped right now, the stuff that's coming through the pipeline will get me there by the end of the year. So we're still carrying on with that in the background. But where we go in the future, am I going to go more towards the apart hotels? Well, I suppose I'll let you know that once we got our first one up and running, right?
What I was gonna ask is, one, talking about the branding, I think there it would be good for us as STR operators to kind of look at our hotels. I think you can see in the main hotels, like a lot of, like Hilton owns a lot of stuff, and then to just do that, like DoubleTree by Hilton. So maybe that could be an idea of doing it like that, like so that people recognize your name, because I think that has a value.
Yeah, so you got the branding, but you just slightly you're separating it slightly. That's a great idea.
I think, I don't know, that's probably what I would personally do. Like I would like to keep it, you know what I mean, and kind of keeping the culture. But my next question, which I like asking to people, they're kind of, I asked this to Ryan and Luke as well, is like, what does your day-to-day look like now? So now that you are, you know, you're growing, you have people helping you acquire more rent to rent. What does the day-to-day of an operator that has 40 plus unit and 3 Aparthotels? Yeah, that does not work. Aparthotels.
That's you don't like that, do you?
Aparthotels needs to go. Yeah, I wanted to try and say it myself. I'm like, that is not. Yeah,
we'll come up with something, guys.
Yeah,
right?
we'll do it.
That'll be the goal for the end of this for the end of this week, is to change it from Aparthotel to something different. But that's a great question. So what does my week look like now? It's a lot different to what it was when I had, 7 properties and I was running around like a headless chicken, like thinking, how the hell can you scale this type of business? This is an absolute nightmare. No, so my serviced accommodation business now, I spend a maximum of about 3 hours a week on it. I've got an operations manager. I have 3 VAs in the Philippines that run all the guest services. It's very much a systemized and scalable business, and we've built it that way for a reason. We tie new properties into our existing infrastructure, and it's just done by everybody in the call it the sausage machine, but it goes in and it comes out the other end, and it's just done. So yeah, my actual input on the operational side of the serviced accommodation business now is very minimal. And the 3 hours that I do is more around, having a team meeting once a week. We had it today, Thursday. And we're going through, just the high level, where we're up to with our numbers, what we're looking at doing, what's good, what's bad, what are we doing about it, what are we carrying on with, what are we going to change. It's very high level. The kind of detail stuff is done by the team now. But my day-to-day is normally set up with doing coaching and mentoring. So I do a lot of that, which is what I enjoy. I really enjoy doing that, and I wouldn't change that for the world. And also looking at ways and looking at for new developments and learning from Clubhouse on a daily basis, getting in there and mixing and networking. And I mean, that's the type of thing I love doing. I love coaching people, love mentoring, but I love networking, and I love getting out there and speaking to people and learning new things. So that's what I spend most of my time on, the stuff that I like.
Going back to your operations background, when you look at this business and when you were at that 7 units, freaking out, and what was your thought process on, okay, how can I create process and systems so that I can scale? What did that look like for you? If you had to visualize that.
So again, that's another great question. So my background, when I was an operator, when I left my career, I was an operations director. But for the last sort of 18 months of working for a blue chip company, I worked with really high-end consultants. And when I say high-end consultants, these guys were on, £1,500 to £2,000 a day, working for somebody for us in our business. And what I did with them is I sat and standardized and systemized the home improvements company that I was working for. And basically we took everything apart, stripped it all down, and set out step-by-step processes and standard operating procedures, and just really took everything back to basics and worked out step by step. We all know in business that everything's got a start point and a finish point, right? And a process is really very simple. You start at the beginning and you work out what the steps are to get to the end, and then you build a system or a process around it. So my business partner, He's a very techie person. He's really great with systems and applications. And I'm a kind of a more of like a visionary, if you like. So I'll sit back and go, right, this is what we need and this is how it needs to work. And I'll say, right, Chris, can you make this work? So what he'll do is he'll go out and he'll look at all the best in class applications that will make the system work or the procedures work. And we build it from there. So we've got a system, what we call the office in our pocket. So we can manage our business, or I can manage my business and he can manage the business from anywhere in the world, as long as we've got Wi-Fi or a 4G connection. And from about 9 applications we use, and that we can kind of work, we can run our whole business from that. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, I love the office in the pocket thing, because I think that's going back to other guests that we had. Julie George will pretty much be on the same bandwagon, right? Is running everything through your phone. $1
million host.
Yeah, exactly. What was your guys'? Because I think Mike has a great point in the sense of where our listeners are. But when it was you and Chris, right, and you got to that 7 units, who was the next hire? Like, what did that look like?
Great question.
Who was your first hire?
First hire was a VA in the Philippines. Oh, no, let me go back a step. So our first hire was a maintenance guy, a maintenance person, because, and when I say hire, they weren't like a full-time employment person. They were just somebody that we went out and said, look, we are sick of going out to properties and doing the light bulbs and all that sort of stuff. So our first hire was a guy that got a maintenance person who took that away from us. So if a guest couldn't get in the property, somebody that would go and sort that out. Because me and my business partner Chris were sick of, sitting down for a meal with the family on a Friday evening, and you get a phone call and you have to drop everything and go out to the property. So that was our first hire. Our second hire, and the one that took away the most time for us was sorry, my dog's growling in the background. So, oi! Sorry, you can cut that out.
I love it. Most episodes, my 5-year-old runs in and crashes the episodes.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Something which is pretty entertaining, so I don't mind. I think it makes for a great show.
I'm sorry about that. About that. I've completely lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, okay. So the maintenance guy that I took on to deal with that, he's now my operations manager. So he came in at a lower level. He was quite smart about it, really. And I've known him for years. He used to buy the properties that I used to buy and turn over. He used to sell for me. So he saw an opportunity on what we were building, and he got in there early and got in as a maintenance guy, took away a lot of our pain. And now he's my operations manager. He's just come up through the ranks, and he's a great guy. But the second hire that I made was a VA in the Philippines. And what we did is we wanted somebody just to handle all the guest services, so the phone calls that were coming in. And that was straightforward for us. So again, with my operational background, we just took everything that me and Chris and I were doing, and the stuff that the low-hanging fruit or the administration tasks, the phone calls, all that sort of stuff, we built out what I call a day in the life of, or a DITLO, day in the life of, Monday to Friday, or we actually did Thursday to Monday, because we wanted them working the weekend, so we didn't have to take calls over the weekend. And we just built out a plan, did a training plan off the back of it, got the right systems in place to be able to monitor what they were doing. Screen monitoring systems and stuff like that. Built a training plan out, and there you go. It was
I love it.
That was the first thing we did.
I'm going to get in the weeds a little bit on that, because I know when I was first getting into it, I think where I dropped the ball a lot was on the whole onboarding and training. And again, I know we're getting in the weeds, but I think this will be very helpful for folks that are kind of at that 5 to 10 unit range and they're starting to bring on help, where I was delegating, but it was more just like I had these SOPs and I was just pushing it off, like just read this and do this, right? And I wasn't investing that time to like effectively onboard somebody. And I don't claim to have that completely dialed in now, but it's a lot better than it used to be. So if you could kind of walk through like what that was like for you guys, and like,
you know what, you make a really good point there. Really good point. Now, I'm going to go back a step, because the first hire that we did, the first VA that we hired, we didn't nail that properly. Okay, we didn't do the training properly. We did all the, you know, what we did was we used a piece of software called Loom. Have you got that over there?
Yep.
Loom.
Yep.
So we'd record everything that we do. So if you're booking somebody in, or putting, you know, a booking into your channel manager, or pricing, or whatever it was, we recorded everything. And we had an education channel in our in our communication system called Slack. Have you heard of Slack? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we have an education channel in there, which has got a video on anything. You can go in there, you can search for anything you want, and a video will pop up, and you can watch it, and it'll show you how to do it. But what we didn't do is we didn't really nurture the first person that we took on board. And we give them the videos, but we didn't really sit with them and make sure that they understood them properly and went through it, and, you know, did a proper training plan with them. We kind of just started throwing a load of things at them, and guess what? That didn't work. So the next person we did, I set out a process. Again, sound like a really sad person here, but it works. So I've got an 8-step process to taking on a VA, which starts with their purpose, you know, what you want them for, and the type of person that you want. Then it goes into a DITLO, and it goes through 8 different stages, all the way up to kind of the training plan and how you train them. And it's really detailed what we do. And that worked. So the second one that we took on board, we'd made all the mistakes with the first one. We made sure we had enough work for them, because we weren't giving the first person enough work. And we all know with VAs, if they're not getting enough work, they're going to go and look for something else and do 2 jobs at the same time. And we just made sure that we kind of nailed that process down. But one of the best things is Loom, and being able to create all those educational videos and get that step-by-step processes. And yeah, you've got to be really detailed in your approach to that, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And I think as you grow, you appreciate where you're coming from a lot more. I think at the beginning, you'll definitely be like, yeah, that does not sound exciting. But as you grow, you understand that really that's our value as owners and operators, is really owning those systems. And the thing that I love about you is that it sounds like you have a number for everything, right? There is a 5 steps this, and then there's a 7-step that, and then there's an 8-step this. And it's but it works, because then it's something that it's a checklist. And I know that with,
I was chuckling to myself when I said it, because I've already said like 5 to this, 7 to this, 8 to this. I mean,
but it's
good.
Just
the way my brain works.
Yeah, but it makes sense, because I think it's super easy for you to, and I think Adam Knight, that has a big hospitality background, used to say this on the show, is like, you have to inspect what you expect.
Yeah.
Right. And I think at the beginning, especially when it comes to VAs, a lot of the times they don't mean well, they don't mean badly either. They just don't know what your expectations are. So unless you're there with them. But yeah, that's really the key of where you spend a lot of your time, when we're growing to this level. I think you're spending kind of videoing yourself.
When I take people on as well, one of the things that I always do is I always take people on that are better than me at certain tasks. So I'll find people that have the opposite skill set to me. So for example, my business partner, I'm the salesperson, I'm the operator. He is very much a techie person. He's an analyst. He was an analyst for Bank of America, and he was like a senior analyst for them. So he loves that side of things, you know, the technical side. He likes to lock himself in a dark room and sit tapping away on his laptop, and that's just the opposite of what I like doing. So that kind of works together. But we do that when we take on virtual assistants as well. So we've got 3 now. Every single one of them's got an opposing skill set, if that makes sense. So you've got one that's guest services, one that's marketing and creative, and then you've got an accountant that's very much an analyst. And they all kind of work together in tandem, and they don't, because they've all got different skill sets, they all work together. And you say that, you know, they say like opposites attract. That's really key for us in our team as well, that we don't have too many people that are exactly the same, because you end up banging heads, right?
100%. And that's another lesson that I've learned over time is having the right mix and having the right butts in the right seats, basically, you know, where people can kind of work in their natural flow, their natural genius, and they're more fulfilled and more stuff gets done.
Yeah.
So,
But it's also counterintuitive, because at the beginning you just want to work with people that are like you, because that
you want to hire people that are exactly like you.
And you like them, and you're like, this is gonna be so fun, and then you're like, shit, I'm paying all these people salary, and I hate all of them because they remind me of myself. So this is not gonna work, right? But then it's also part of the learning.
It's a brilliant point. Yeah,
I love
you
that.
do. When the worst thing you can do when you interview people is the people that you really relate with, and you see they're just like you. You tend to want to hire those types of people. It's not that. It's not that. You hire them for what they're good at, and I always get people that are better than what I do at stuff that two things I don't like doing, which are generally things that I'm not good at, right? Because if you're good at them, you generally like doing them. So I end up taking people on that can do the stuff that I don't like and the things that I'm not good at, and they are better than me at doing.
100%. Well, I want to be respectful of your time. I know we're getting close to the top of the hour here. So before we get into our final question, first I want to acknowledge you and thank you for coming on here and being so open and honest to share all your feedback, kind of pull that curtain back, share all the nitty-gritty details. And that's just one thing I love about this industry. Is so many people like yourself that have reached those levels of success are just willing to share and like open up. But it's also not from an ego standpoint. Like you said it multiple times that you're still learning and you're still going on Clubhouse to network and meet new people and learn new things. Like you've never quote unquote made it. You know what I mean?
No. And I never feel like that.
Yeah.
No, I never feel like that. There's always, for me, and I think this is an entrepreneurial thing. Once you get to a certain level, then there's the next level. There's always something else. Like, well, I've got these AppartHotels. Well, what's next? Where do I go next?
We're gonna take an island down.
What's he doing over there? Well, or what's she doing over there? Well, maybe I could do that next. It's and that's why I absolutely love learning, and I love Clubhouse. The minute that the day I get to a place where I'm not learning is the day I quit.
That's a great mantra. That's a quote we need for the show notes right there. So where can folks learn more about you, your mentorship, your companies, the AppartHotels? Where can folks learn more about you and connect with you?
Yeah, so you can reach me on any social media channel. If you just search for Dave Goodfellow, my business is Iconic. So Iconic with a K, IKONIC. We've got Iconic Training Academy, Iconic Property. We've got Copper House, which is our guest-facing brand for our serviced accommodation business. What else I've probably forgotten? I've got loads of companies that I've probably forgotten half of them, but Iconic is the main company. Okay. Iconic Training Academy and Copper House.
Awesome. I love it. So the last question that we ask all of our guests is
Clubhouse is where you can get us on, by the way. Sorry, we've got the We Talk Property Club. That's the property club that we have on Clubhouse. We do a show every morning from Monday to Friday from 7:30 UK time till 8:30 UK time. Probably you guys are probably in bed, but I don't know, what time is it over there now?
Right now it's about 4. It's going to be 4 o'clock in a couple minutes.
4 p.m.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Well, 5 hours behind us. Okay. Yeah, you'll definitely be in bed when we're doing that. So,
yeah, man, I like it very much. I'm not getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning.
I was going to say I'm not going to get many takers for that show here, am I?
So the last question that we like to ask all of our guests is, what is your number one secret to success with short-term rentals?
Consistency. Okay. And what do I mean by consistency? So it's very easy in the short-term rental market to give up. because you'll get more no's than you'll get yeses, right? So you've got to be consistent. You've got to keep on doing the mundane daily tasks that give you the success at the end of it. Simple as that.
Love it. Love it. Well, Dave Goodfellow, thank you, sir, so much for coming on here. This has been a lot of fun. Really appreciate it. And we'll talk soon.
Hey guys, thank you very much.
Cheers, Dave.
Hey, STR Nation, if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and leave us a review. And in the comments, let us know what topics you want us to cover on upcoming episodes, and we'll make sure to get that in the books for you. And if you really want to learn how to launch, automate, and scale your short-term rental business, if you want to go deeper, then check out our free masterclass at strsecrets.com.